Welcome in, Ballsville gamers, to our first episode of the Scott and Sean Happy Hour. So this episode of the Scott and Sean Happy Hour is brought to you by the ballsvillegame.com, where our games combine fantasy football and poker, which create big payouts with great odds. So welcome in, folks. I'm going to go to my co-host. He is Bill's Mafia out there in Viva Las Vegas. He goes by
not today, Scott. Today I am.
Today's in Reno. I'm sorry, it's in Reno today. Traveling man. So welcome on in there, Trader Clem.
How you doing, buddy? It's good to see you.
All right, and back on for his second appearance, he is Dennis Michelson. He is D Mike Media. You can find him at The Science of Fantasy Football. And Dennis, welcome on in again.
It's great to be here. And for the Bills fan, I just want to let you know I changed my phone case. So it's no longer 13 seconds. It's now 65 toss power trap. I did that because I'm getting to know you. So I don't want to insult you with dumb jokes like I had last time.
It's okay. I don't mind it. I'm used to being insulted. I've been wearing Bills jerseys since before we got Josh Allen. So, you grew up being insulted if that's the case.
Trust me on this. I lived 50 years between Super Bowls, so I know what it's like. And I was a Cubs fan, so we only get one win every 108 years. So
we got that in common. I'm a Cubby fan too, so I like that.
Oh, geez. All right, roll call. We got Sorry for Cussing.
Like how he changes the subject real quick.
We got Cyborg. We got Fran. What's up, Fran? Fran's in the house. And we got HTX Ethan. And that's it for now. I'm sure the rest of the people will be rolling in.
There's more in there. They're just not talking right now because they're drinking. That's what happens when you join the happy hour, baby.
The happy hour, of course. So, obviously, no Roma Dunze drop. And we have a new background. So we have a lot of exciting things here at Ballsville. We want to introduce to you guys the new Ballsville Media Group. And what's this going to consist of is numerous pods throughout the week. I know you guys are fiending for more pods. Sean and I cannot fit everything in one pod. And I don't think you want to hear me for 3 or 4 hours trying to pronounce fantasy football team names going forward. So we're spreading this out through the week. We think it's going to be very exciting. If you guys haven't already, Sean and Connor, they do a guillotine podcast on Monday, which will be going over all the guillotine leagues, breaking them down, going through transactions. It's going to be a very exciting show. Tuesday, if you haven't seen it already, that's our buddy Jimbo's Bimbos, who's living on the waiver wire. Him and Sarah have their podcast on Tuesday, and they're going to be breaking down waiver wire, injury reports, everything that we need to know before we put those last-minute waiver claims in on Tuesday night, and Wednesday for some people. And then Wednesday, you get to see our goofy faces, Sean and I, on our happy hour. We'll just be going over, basically the weekend report with games, some fantasy stuff. We'll be playing some games on our own that you guys always like. And then we'll have a guest on every now and again. And also we'll be taking care of some triathlon information. So we'll be home at the triathlon. Sorry for Cussing will be coming on. He doesn't know it yet, but we're putting him to work, and he's going to be our triathlon right-hand man. So he'll be coming on probably every couple of weeks, doing breakdown on triathlon, where we're at in the triathlon. And then Thursday, El Presidente, he's going to be on right before the Thursday night game, and he's going to break down basically the Ballsville Whip Around. I don't know what he's going to call his podcast, but
I kind of like the Ballsville Whip Around. That's a pretty amazing name.
The Ballsville Whip Around's pretty good, so I'll take credit for that, Alex. I'll copy
right, we have it on video, so nobody else can.
Yeah, so that would be pretty cool. He'll break down mini games, big games, redraft. So you guys wanted it. You guys wanted more podcasts, so we're bringing you guys more podcasts. Now, we're going to try to keep these podcasts down to about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, so that way it doesn't drag on and it gives you guys, more time to can't wait for the next one. So we're going to wrap everything in and we're going to start that the first week of games. I know Jimmy did his podcast yesterday. Sean did his podcast on Monday, but Alex needs a few more weeks. And also, I cannot forget, we also have, and these will be coming in every now and again, probably twice a week. I'm not sure which days they're going to release them, but Connor and JoJo are doing their Dynastyville, and they just released 2 of them. You can find them on YouTube. I watched the one yesterday. Outstanding. They went through all the 2 of the Dynasty leagues and broke them all down. Had contenders, rebuilders. They gave their predictions. Quality stuff. If you're a Dynasty player, definitely go and check that out. And then if you guys want your teams broken down, throw those guys a DM, and they'll put you guys on the list to break your team down. So a lot of big things here at Ballsville going forward, and we are now the Ballsville Media Group. So I don't know. Let's get in it. But one more quick thing. I know Cyborg's in here. I promised him I would go over his pick'em games. If you guys are into pick'em for fantasy football, please reach out to Cyborg. He does a tremendous job with those pick'em leagues. He also does the March Madness pools. So definitely get a hold of him if you want to get in. If you want your get into pick'em games. So that's awesome. Got a lot going on. I need a break. I just got all this out. So I'm going to go to Sean. Sean, are you excited about preseason number 2?
I mean, about week 2 in the preseason, is there a way to be excited about the preseason other than just the fact that we get to see our team in uniform for the first few weeks of the year? Like, there's really not much you get out of preseason other than that, and then watching some rookie play and see how they look, and going from there. Watching AR's finger get busted in half and second play that he threw out there, stuff like that. That's all you're getting out of preseason. There's not a whole lot, but I definitely am happy that we got football. And I'm really excited that we're moving into the season. Like, feels like fast as heck, really. I mean, how are you guys doing as far as your preseason love? What are you guys at right now with your Dennis? What do you think, man? I want to hear your opinion. I know you had your big weekend this weekend, so I know you didn't probably get a chance to watch too many games. But were you excited about anything? Did you feel like it was more exciting than normal? Like, was there anything you got out of this?
You're always excited first week, even though it means nothing for fantasy football.
Right.
The only thing it means for fantasy football is, did anybody get hurt? That's all I care about. Now, one thing I do like to see in preseason, there are some fun stories out there. Kansas City's got a wide receiver by the name of Brownlee that's been out of the league for 2 years with, and just always, just getting cut. Practice squad guy. He came into camp with the Chiefs and caught a real impressive long touchdown in the first game. And to see everybody celebrate, because they know how hard this guy has worked to keep himself in the league. That, to me, is the fun stuff that happens in the preseason games that sometimes gets lost. A few years ago, there was a kid by the name of Trent Sherfield, who now you've heard of because he's been around the league for quite a few years. But that first preseason that he was there in camp, it wasn't sure bet that he was going to make the team. And he worked his butt off. He made a couple of great special teams tackles, of all things, and a couple of good plays here, plays there. He's from my current hometown of Danville, Illinois. He went to high school with my stepson. It's cool to see those success stories that come up through preseason, but otherwise, I just
got a couple Josh Allen passes in regular season too.
Correct. Yeah. Trent Sherfield came up and he's a bona fide NFL player now. He will bounce from team to team, and he will always be making his salary. And what is unknown about that young man is he's spending a lot of that cash here in Danville to help rebuild some of our downtown. So he's not only a hardworking kid who has made the most of his NFL career, he's given back to his hometown. That's a special human being. And those are the kinds of stories that go on behind the scene. We get so caught up in fantasy football stats. We forget these are real people trying to make a living in the NFL, which, of course, NFL stands for not for long. So they come and go very fast. But to see these fun success stories, those are the kinds of things I like to see in preseason.
No, I'll tell you a little story. So, this is the story of a Hall of Famer named Terrell Davis, and Terrell Davis got his shining moment. So it's preseason game number 1, and the coaching staff basically said he's not going to be playing. So he suits up. He knows he's not going to play. So what does he do? He goes and downs like 2 hot dogs, sitting there on the bench with a belly full of hot dog. And then finally, the coaching staff goes over to him and says, "Terrell, you're going in on special teams." I was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to throw up on myself. I just downed 2 hot dogs and I got to go in there on special teams." Well, if you have a chance, go look up Terrell Davis special teams.
Oh, he smacked him.
And he smashed this dude like crazy. And that's what made him to make the team.
That put him on the map, legit.
Yeah, that put him on the map. Was that special teams hit. Now, he could have went out there and said, "Screw this. I'm just going to dog it, and I ain't going to do nothing because I feel like I should be playing, and I'm not." But he went out there and just made a tremendous play.
You know, if you look closely, you can actually see a piece of hot dog stuck in the other guy's beard.
It was so stories like that are really cool. So, So I basically wrote down. I'm going to go over some games from last week. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going through a couple games where some guys stuck out and kind of get the boys' opinion on some of these games. So, last week we had Indy and Baltimore, and obviously everybody saw, Keaton Mitchell, coming out there going crazy, scoring a touchdown, looked fast, looked elusive. This guy hasn't played football in a long time. So very exciting. I don't know if he'll take over the Justice Hill job. I think the Justice Hill has that pass catching chops that I think they like, but I think he should get some run. What do you guys think about Keaton Mitchell? I'll go to Dennis first.
Well, here's the situation. Yes, Justice Hill is good out of the backfield. But if something ever happened to Derrick Henry, it wouldn't be Justice Hill. It would be Keaton Mitchell. And I've been grabbing so much of Keaton Mitchell. And the fact that
Hey, careful now. You might get a lawsuit.
The fact that he looks so good in the return game is interesting because historically guys that do well in return games, they got some pretty good chops out of the backfield as pass catchers as well. So maybe we will see a role every week for Keaton Mitchell going forward.
Yep. Now he's a little banged up, but he's, it's just preseason, so it's probably precautionary. And then,
he is coming off a pretty massive injury from last season, so they're probably just keeping an eye on him.
Yeah.
I mean, he already showed him last year, and then now coming back, he's still got it after what he did in the preseason game. I'd sit him the rest of the preseason. Even if he's got like a small ding, he doesn't need it. You know exactly what you got. You don't want the rest of the world to see it. And you just wait until week 1 against Buffalo, unfortunately, to show what he's capable of.
Yeah, no, so it was some good to see the guy out there, especially coming off a major injury and play really well. Now, another game I wanted to go over was the Vegas at Seattle, and they're looking for a number 3 receiver. And this guy reminds me a little bit of a cross between Tyler Lockett and Doug Baldwin, and his name is Torrey Horton. I'm sorry, Torrey Horton.
I thought you were going to say Tyler Baldwin there for a second.
Yeah, I probably should have. But he looked really good. He had 3 for 31 and a touch. He had 7 targets, and he was running mainly out of the slot. So he looked really good. I had some good comps on him out of college. I think the boys on the Rookieville, Connor and JoJo, I think they gave him some praise also. So I'll go to Sean. Sean, did you catch any of Horton highlights?
Yeah, I did actually, and I think the kid looks good. Like you said, that's a great comparison. Tyler Lockett was the guy that kind of came to mind. Of course, there's obvious reason with that, but he just has that kind of ability to just sneak his way open. Keenan Allen's another guy who's kind of been that way his whole career, just kind of sneaks his way open on a regular basis. So if he can get better at that and kind of just get that elusiveness under his belt to the point where he can be that kind of, it's like the snake in the Jungle Book. The guy's always in the right place at the right time to catch him on eye contact and just take him down. So, that's kind of how I feel like he's got the potential to become. And if he continues to grow, then, sky's the limit.
Dennis, what do you think?
I've loved this kid since the college days. I saw him coming up and I'm like, man, you see a player who just has some ability. And I don't care whether you're at a minor league baseball game, you hear the pop in the glove or you see the play and man, that guy's different than everybody else here. And that was the same way he looked in college. And then he lands on a team that gets rid of DK Metcalf, gets rid of Tyler Lockett. And, now you got nothing there. Yes, Cooper Kupp, they grabbed him. That's for this year. And so Horton's a guy that I'm looking at and drafted a lot of in dynasty rookie drafts. You got him cheap. And when I'm grabbing a guy in a dynasty rookie league, I ask one question. Can he make the team? That's it. And, he's going to make the team because, they got MVS behind him. They got, Jake Bobo, who's good on special teams and a good blocking kind of guy and just that tough.
Yeah, he's
player.
like the Timu Hunter Renfro.
But he isn't going to do anything, So this is a kid that eventually will take over as the number 2 in Seattle. Mark my words on that. He's got a lot of skill. And, this year in redraft, I've been kind of saying, nope, it's not the time to pull the trigger on him. In best ball, I got a bunch of him sitting at that last pick in the draft because he's going to do something. He's going to have 3 or 4 weeks that he does something this year. But I was impressed right out of the gate. And sometimes these, later round guys that are just depth pieces for a team, they don't always shine in the preseason. They're kind of like, you look at them and you go, I was excited about that.
There was a guy a lot like him a few years back in Washington. Can't think of his name right now off the top of my head, but I feel like he's done a pretty good job for himself up there.
Yeah, it's amazing how you can get these guys that they instantly outperform their draft status. And I think he's one of them. And he's uniquely positioned because, you look at Cooper Kupp and he could go out with an injury and all of a sudden Horton's number 2. And he has a different style to his play and to what should be his route tree in the NFL than, JSN does and Kupp does. So he should stand out instantly because he will be a factor on that offense. Awesome.
Okay, I'm going to leave the best for last. So I got a few more, and then I'm going to go back to the best for last. But I'm going to go to the over there in New England where the Redskins traveled to the Patriots. And we got started off with a massive 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Wheels up. Travion Henderson. I love this guy. I've said it from the beginning. Even though he's a Buckeye, this guy's the real deal. We'll talk about him a little bit later in our game section of the podcast. But what did you think about that? We'll go to Dennis first of that opening 100-yard kickoff return.
Yeah, saw the highlight, and so here's the thing, guys. And now it's easy to say because Judkins has had his issues and isn't even in camp and may never play this year. But I liked Henderson over Judkins as a player. It's not that, Judkins was a better college player, but I thought Henderson's game was going to be more NFL ready. And I thought his game would mature at the NFL level. I didn't think he was as fast as he showed. He's football fast, and that kick return certainly proved it. But he's just an elusive dude. He's going to be something, and I'm glad to see that. Well, actually, I'm not, because that's going to kill his ADP. I've been getting him really affordably, but I'm afraid that is going to end now with the highlight like that. That's the only thing that sucks about preseason, is sometimes you see a highlight and the guy moves up like 2 rounds in the draft.
Yeah. Now I know he's going to be. I know it was against a bunch of guys that are going to be greeters at Walmart next month once they get cut. But I mean, he looked pretty good.
I love you.
In the last 10,
But Scott,
Go
but Scott, yeah, those were guys that might be greeters at Walmart, but he had greeters that are going to be greeters for Walmart blocking for him too.
Exactly.
I mean,
Touche.
yeah, and who knows who was out on the field? Like, did you look at the snap? You know, the who was out there for that kick return? You have no idea who some of these guys are.
I think I actually saw Tom Brady out there.
It might explain. Well, if Tom Brady was out there, he would have been out there for the opposing team, and it would explain why nobody tackled him. But no, it's you just don't know who is on the field, and that's the problem with preseason. Is the guy can make a great run or a great play, and then you find out, well, it was the 4th stringers for the defense, but it was the starting offensive line or the starters for the kick return team. You're like, oh, okay, then it makes sense. But you have no idea. A good play is a good play, though. And, when you take 1 yard like that, I don't care who's on. I don't care if I'm chasing him. That's impressive.
Yeah, and he's by far the best passing back out of the class. So that's huge.
That's protecting back.
Yeah, I'm sorry, protecting. So, and that's huge when you're looking for playing time. They're not going to put you out there if you can't pass block. Especially when you have a franchise quarterback sitting back there. They don't want him to get smashed. So that's going to be huge. And like I said, we'll talk about him a little bit more later. Okay, I'm going to go to Sean on this next one. I thought this was a real interesting game here. So we got the Texans and the Vikings. A few things stood out to me, and I've always rooted for John Mechie. He went through cancer. He's struggling to get in the lineup and this and that. They just drafted 2 more receivers, but he went out there and had a pretty good preseason game, with 5 catches, 45 yards on 8 targets. And I really hope this guy can carve a rollout. I'm not really 100% sure with the rookies in there. Also, you got JJ McCarthy, and then, the backup is Howell, and he had a great game, 11 for 13, 105 yards. And if JJ comes off a little slow or has any kind of issues with the knee or anything like that, I mean, I think Howell could come in and run that offense. And then one last thing, Jordan Mason, I think he's definitely going to be the 1B to Aaron Jones 1A. So I like picking him up probably a little sooner than most people. Trader Clem, do you have any rebuttal on any of those 3 subjects?
I think that they're a little bit more confident in Aaron Jones than people are giving him credit for. I think they like that guy. I think he's going to get his carries. Not to say that Mason won't, and that they didn't bring Mason in for a reason. I just don't think it's going to be like a 60-40, maybe 30-70, right? Like, it's not going to be completely one-sided, but I don't think it'll be that far to like a split backfield personally. But we'll get into that later, because that's not something we should be discussing immediately. We have a whole game about that.
Yes,
so we'll talk about that then. But as far as John Mechie, I do like him a lot. I mean, I would honestly think, and I think it's the prudent thing to do at this point, is to showcase him, because they could hope that a team like Minnesota, who has a ton of injuries right now and a suspension looming, would want a piece of John Mechie and maybe give him up like a 5th round pick or something for him. Because, I mean, like you just said, they've drafted players. They've got Nico. I don't think that they really have a spot for Mechie right now, the way that things have gone. Not that they don't like him. I just don't think that they see depth for him, and they would prefer that he gets, something in return rather than just release him. So my assumption is that they're going to showcase him for a few games and then hope a team like Minnesota will come up and want a piece of that action moving forward, knowing that he's healthy and back from his whole cancer, beat down and everything that he provided. So, that right there should tell you that the man is a champion if he's able to come back from everything he did. So, I'm hoping that he'll have the opportunity, just like you. I've always rooted for him. I just don't think it'll be on that team. I think it'll be on a different team. As far as Minnesota is concerned, in the JJ scenario, hey, look, man, my face cousin is going to have a great quarterback there no matter what. So it really does not matter what happens as far as who's quarterback in that team. I think that he's going to get the same performance out of anybody that's behind center. So, that situation there is going to be more, depending on who's going to be the one that gets those targets, because everything happening right now with their wide receiver room and the injuries and the suspension and all of that. I mean, a guy like TJ Hawkinson for me has now become the solid fourth tight end, like behind the top three. And I don't have any reason, not taking him like shortly after George Kittle, if, especially in like what we're currently drafting our guillotine leagues where, that first 2-3 weeks is going to be basically TJ Hawkinson season.
Got you. All right, Dennis, I got one for you here. New Orleans, LA Chargers. Is it going to be Rattler? Is it going to be Shook?
Oh boy.
I know I gave you a real downer right there.
You give me the easy layup and then you go and throw him the hard ball.
Yeah, I
He's
think
got the experience.
I think the answer is yes. In the reason I sarcastically say yes is I don't think anybody's going to hold down that job full time all year. I think it's going to be, hey, let's try this guy. If he doesn't cut it, let's try this guy.
Who plays more quarterbacks, Cleveland or New Orleans?
It could be New Orleans, because I really think you're going to see three quarterbacks get some playing time during the season, because I don't know if Shock is really ready for the NFL. Rattler has an intriguing arm. Like, he can't find the right color jersey sometimes, but he's got an intriguing set of skills that it makes you kind of want to say, okay, let's see what he can do for a few games. But
just don't kid his daughter.
I was a little shocked that they drafted a quarterback where they did, and that it was him. I really thought they're going to go for Milroe. I thought that would have been, not only would a Milroe have more upside potential, he's not NFL ready either, but he had more upside potential. It would kind of fit more into the lines of what Rattler does. Now you got two quarterbacks that do vastly different things. That's weird to build an offense around those two guys. Whereas if you had Milroe in camp, you don't expect him to be the starter. You expect Rattler or the other guy. I can't even remember the hell that guy's name. He's so disappointing.
He's going to be bagging groceries at grocery stores.
Hey, now be careful when you say that, because there was a Hall of Fame quarterback that was bagging groceries.
Right? So, because hey, just because he's bagging groceries doesn't mean it's over, right? Like,
exactly. But no, I just would have thought that would have fit better for what they were trying to do. And unless their real game plan was to finish absolute last this year with bad quarterback play, and then to be able to get Manning's kid, that would be a cool Saints thing to do, to bring, a lifetime of misery to another member of the Manning family.
I mean, so that's a great discussion point that I love to talk about for just a second, because to me, so you see these scenarios happen, right? Like, this is happening right now with the Indy situation happened the way it did when Peyton got hurt and Andrew Luck fell in their lap. There's certain scenarios, right? Do you think that Kellen Moore hired and said, hey, look, man, we're going after Arch, so don't worry about season one. If you see you got a gem in the rough, maybe somebody that you can get that you might be able to do something with it. Hey, develop them, but just know that going into next year, Arch is the goal, and no matter what you do this year, we're going to go for that. So you basically should just lean into it as much as possible.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's saying he's not coming out till 2027 now, so they're going to have to tank for 2 years.
Well, they're
to win a title to try to keep other people from doing things, right?
If they win a national title this year, then I think it would be stupid.
You're talking about the same team that made sure Eli did not play in San Diego. Or the same family, I'm sorry, that made sure Eli did not play in San Diego. You're telling me that they're not going to try to guide Arch to the right location? Come on.
Oh, I'm sure they are. But we'll
And
see.
rightfully so, they should. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you've watched so many people go to certain places and just die on the vine when they had every opportunity to be successful physically, talent wise, everything, and they just couldn't be successful because of literally who they got drafted by. It's pretty much the only reason. So it's terrible, but it happens.
But here's the thing, guys. Has Arch Manning done anything yet to really impress you that he's a can't miss prospect in the NFL?
Have you seen his signature? The last letters are MANNING.
Yeah. And yeah. It's and my cousin Phil Mickelson can play better golf than I am. I'm just kidding. Lefty's not really my cousin, but no, it's in the DNA. But they didn't come from the same mare, using a horse racing scenario. So maybe they're not going to be champion breeding. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. So we're okay. Well, let's go to the elephant in the room. Everyone wants to hear. One Shedeur Sanders, 14 of 23, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 carries, 19 yards. I mean, in my opinion, he looked electric. He looked precise. I mean, his 1 touchdown throw was like needled in between the 2 defenders. I mean, he's got poise. I know another play. He got sacked on. The receiver was supposed to come back. He didn't come back. He got sacked. So it wasn't his fault. He went to the sideline and was kind of looked like very upset. Like, hey, this guy's supposed to come back. He's not. The coordinator said, don't worry about it. We know it's not your fault. So, I mean, this kid's played it really cool. I still don't think he starts week 1. I think it's, creaky old Joe Flacco. But and they could say he's number 4 on the depth chart, but we all know he's number 2 on the depth chart. So it just comes to a point where when the Browns are mathematically eliminated, they're going to put Shedeur in there. And I've liked this kid, back in college. I think if it wasn't for his dad middling into his business, he might have went in the first round. So I'm going to I really root for this kid. I really hope he does really well. So that's my take on him. What about you, Sean?
Did you see that picture of his mom?
No. What about
Sorry, I was just kidding. No,
I'm more worried about performance on the field.
I think he did a great job out there. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just kidding. His mom took some photos and it was a big thing, but I'm making a joke about it. He on the field though, the man did do a great job out there for a rookie going through everything he went through. And I'm definitely happy to see that he's handled it the way he has, and then he was able to come out and perform the way he did.
So what's the spin? What was the spin? We'll segue right into your answer, and then we'll segue into your weekend at the Expo. What was the ruckus at the Expo about one Shedeur Sanders there, Dennis?
Oh, people were getting excited about it, and I looked at it and I said, okay, who is he playing against on the other side of the field? I don't know. Were there good defensive players out there or not? Because here's the thing. He played against Big 12 competition. And this isn't the Big 12 competition of the 70s and 80s when the Big 12 was a thing. He played against Big 12 where I don't know of too many Big 12 cornerbacks and defensive backs that have prospered in the NFL. This isn't the SEC, where guys that go up against the SEC, those SEC defensive backs are the guys they're going to be playing against every Sunday. Big 12 competition so much lower. If you look at Travis Hunter's highlight tape, there weren't a lot of great thrown balls. He was just going up and getting it. I'm just saying, Shedeur Sanders has got some physical talents, but he not for once in his college days did I look at this guy and I didn't look at him and say he's as good as Trevor Lawrence. Okay. Trevor Lawrence's sophomore year in college, he looked like he was NFL ready. Not so much the next year, but the point is, I don't think Sanders has had a year where I looked at him and I said, okay, you can do that here, but what can you do at the next level? And I kind of equated, right here in the local area, there was a 6'5" quarterback playing high school ball last year. The kid couldn't move worth a damn, but he had a good arm and nobody could tackle him. So he had a great season. He didn't even get a look from Division One because everybody knows what he was playing against. He was playing against very poor competition. We have small high schools where the guys are going both ways. They're playing offense and defense. It's not, Joliet Catholic up near Chicago where, they're playing in the Catholic Football League, and everybody that is playing as a starter on offense and defense ends up with a damn near a Division One scholarship. And I look at the Big 12 the same way. They're not the SEC. So I have still got, looking at Shedeur Sanders and saying, yeah, the guy's got physical talents, but it's what he does with them. He threw a lot of hospital balls in Big 12 play that Travis Hunter just bailed him out, great plays. So the jury is still out with Sanders to me, but I was happy to see the kid have a good game because he did get kind of crapped on, coming out of the draft. So I'm always looking for guys to succeed. I want to hear that fabulous story, but it didn't. Preseason just doesn't move the needle for me. I've seen a lot of great preseason games out of guys that never did diddly squat in the NFL.
Okay, let me ask you this take then. So Shedeur played good, not great competition. Now Ashton Genty goes out there, 3 carries for -1 yards. What do you think about Ashton Genty now?
Doesn't bother me in the least. I don't look at anything that happens in preseason and give a damn. Did he hang on to the football? If he had fumbled 3 times on 3 carries, then I might be a little concerned. I don't care what happens.
What? That's true because Dennis's entire argument about Shedeur was about his college scenario and not what happened on the field this weekend.
No,
so
but my point is the competition though. I mean, Genty played at Boise State. I mean, they're not.
Oh yeah.
Hey, don't you talk bad about my UNLV UNR competition?
Well, this is why I think we're getting way too excited of Genty and in fantasy football. I saw people taking him 5th, 6th in the first round. I'm like, woo, go ahead, have fun, boys. And the thing is I realize that he might do just fabulous. But he's a rook, man. I want some data behind it, but the data behind it, preseason games do not adjust how I feel about a player, good, bad, or indifferent. The only thing a spring, a preseason game might do is might alert me to a guy that I look and say, ooh, that was pretty good.
A guy that maybe you didn't know the coaching staff liked until you watched how much they had him in the game, or something like that.
And to be honest with you, that was Audric Estime for Denver last year.
Yep.
How did that pay off during the regular season? It's that kind of thing where, I don't get excited about preseason because I've seen, I still have, PTSD from LaVisca Chenault. So it's that kind of thing that you look and you say, don't let it beat you again. But no, I don't get excited. Plus or minus, I agree with you. Now, Giante, when he played against the big boys last year, and you realize he's got Boise State offensive linemen, and he's going up against Oregon, and he gained a boatload of yards. So I look at that, and I'm going, okay. But that was one game. But no, preseason doesn't move the needle at all. I don't care.
Right. Okay, well, that's some good takes. Like I said, I just wanted to get your opinion on both sides, both boys there. Now, this week you went to the Holy Grail, which is the Fantasy Football Expo. Everyone's talking about it. You were there. You were boots on the ground. So I want to hear all the juicy details.
So You'll have to get somebody else on the show if you want the story about the people passing out downtown Canton from drinking too much on Friday. Because I don't play that game. We were there for a specific reason, and that was the Sunday to show off our posters. So I stayed sober until after that was over. I don't drink, guys. I'm old. I don't drink anymore. But
You will when we're there.
no, but it was a fabulous event. First of all, kudos to Bob Long. He has about 8 people that are on the inner circle that help put this thing on. Okay, and his family's biggest part of it. His mom and dad and his wife are 3 of those 8, along with him. So what they're able to do is amazing, because this is an event like no other. And yes, he's gotten a lot of help from some of the big names in the industry that say, hey, look, why don't we host this? Why don't we do this event? But it's turned into something very, very special. The one thing it hasn't turned into yet that I'm a little disappointed is it's a great get together for people in the industry and people who want to get in the industry. But what we're missing out on are all the fantasy football nutcases that would enjoy this every bit as much as the insiders or the wannabe insiders. Now, there is no better place to go if you want to get to meet some of the bigwigs and maybe impress them. I'm a little old for that. I'm not looking for a job, okay? But what I'm looking for is we're trying to change the mindset of a small percentage of the world of fantasy football. We are trying to get a more professional attitude in this business. For instance, we can't even agree what the name sleeper means. What is a sleeper? What is a my guy, to the moon with this player? We have such weird terms that nobody wants to define. Because I'm fading this guy. Okay, what does that mean? How many positions past ADP is a fade? You ask 10 people, you get 10 different answers. That's insane way to run a business. And fantasy football is a sport. It's a business, okay? And we can't even agree on a set of definitions. So Professor John Bush and I, we are setting out to appeal to folks on a scientific basis with our data. And then when we get their attention, we're trying to increase the level of professionalism within this industry. In meteorology, my science, and in biology, his science, there are definitions. Everybody knows what every word means. We have a glossary. They're accepted definitions that don't change. In fantasy football, they change on a whim. I had this guy, and this guy as sleepers last year. What does that mean? How many positions past ADP does a guy become a sleeper? How deep in a draft is a sleeper? Whenever I say anything like that, and I say a term, I immediately define it, because that's what a professional does. And I want to see more professionalism in this industry. But the get together itself is magical, guys. You got to get there. You got to see this. Where else can you see the biggest names in the business talking to the biggest nobodies in the business? And it's so much fun. That's what makes this good, is everybody's equal. Everybody's there to have a good time. And yes, the partying is epic. I've heard. There's been wiffle ball games that break out in downtown Canton by the Doubletree Hotel. I mean, it's nonsense. It's fun. There's karaoke somewhere every night, and there's these big parties. I'm amazed that some of these people actually live to see Sunday, because the epic amount of drinking that I've seen at the expo is just, it's funny. I mean, guys taking their shoes off and doing a shoey with their beer. First of all, it's the grossest damn thing. I know where my
feet are. Rally in my book.
I know where my feet have been. I ain't going there, boys. But they'll do that for a $5 donation to Fantasy Cares, Scott Fish's organization. But the highlight of the weekend, there's two of them in my opinion. One, it's draft night out, which is kind of a dumb name because it's drafting in the afternoon. So it should be called Drafternoon. They should rebrand it. But In Between Media hosts this every year. They do a fabulous job because they basically take over a restaurant in town for the day. And they have so many, I don't even know how many drafts. They must have like 50 drafts, 40 drafts. I don't know how many going on at the same time in the same room. Now they're all on sleepers, so you don't even physically have to be there, but it's fun to be there in the middle of all this chaos and this fun. And, live drafts are special and a lot of fun. Now, the professor and I were sitting at a table all by ourselves with horse racing on and trying to make some money while we were drafting our teams, but that's a whole nother story. But it is a fun situation because you get to interact with a lot of people. You get people that, you don't know, but they know your work and they come up, hey, I just wanted to meet you guys. All right. How you doing? And there's surprise people that are there that are bigwigs that have heard of me. And it's scary, but it's funny because I'll introduce myself, hey, I'm Dennis. Do I know you? And I'm like, D-Mike Media on Twitter. And I get the, oh, you, type of thing. So it means I've ticked off somebody along the line. But no, it's a fun event. And then Sunday is the highlight because that's when the trade show is going on. A lot of new companies, a lot of big companies that have been in the business for years. Football Guys always has a huge display. There's all kinds of groups there. And, I've got some friends that, this is the only time you get together with them because they're all over the country. We'll talk and we'll chat and we'll talk football during the year, but it's good to get to see them in person and break bread with folks you haven't seen for the year. And, it was a really good time, highly recommended, but not just if you want to be in the business or are already in the business. If you're just a fantasy football player, you need to come to the Fantasy Football Expo next year. It'll be in July next year as well. The professor and I had two posters of data. How about this for something cool that we learned in our research that we shared with everybody? So volume's important in fantasy football, right? Would you agree?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So touches for running backs, that's kind of important, right? So touches from one year to the next. We did some research and what we found even surprised us. So if you look at the top 5 running backs from last year, and then you look at the top 10, the 6 through 10, and then you look at 11 to 20 in fantasy football touches the previous year. Here's what happens the following year. The 1 to 5 group is very predictable to come back and have another high. They're going to probably be in the top 10 next year. But the 6 to 10 group are indistinguishable from the 1 to 5. But they're both much different than the 11 to 20. And if you think about that, the top 5 running backs are gone in a hurry, right? 6 to 12 are a little bit better value. And when it comes to volume, there is nothing differentiating number 10 from number 1. Very important. The other thing we looked at is we have 2 metrics. One is called the Bush LR number, invented by Professor John Bush. And it's a secret formula that uses some regression modeling to come up with a number. He's a lot smarter than I am.
Can we call it the BLR?
It's the BLR. That's exactly what we call it. So anyway, it's the Bush linear regression and my MVP index, which you've heard about, that I talked about last time I was on, which all it does is grade performances on a weekly basis because a player can do 3 things. He can help you win, he can cause you to lose, or he can keep you in the matchup. That's what MVP measures. So each metric has its strength and weakness, like any metric that you're going to have studying anything in any science. But the cool thing is if we put our 2 metrics together, how would you like a 4.8 point per game edge at running back?
Absolutely.
That's kind of good, right?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's the edge that our combined metrics have identified. So that's the research that we shared with the crowd, and we also showed them the proof of concept that this poster session can grow, and we can have your data. Anybody with an idea, we can help you even research it out and get it ready in poster form for the Expo in 2026. So we're pretty excited. We're a year ahead of schedule from where we expected, but that was kind of it for the Expo. It's an amazing dysfunctional family reunion of fantasy football nerds, and it's a lot of fun. There are a lot of drafts. There's drafts for the fans. There's drafts for the experts. There's drafts for everybody, and it's a lot of fun. Definitely a must-see thing. Put it on your bucket list if you love fantasy football, even if you're just a player, because they want more players there to interact with the bigwigs.
No, that's awesome. I'm so excited. Now, you said it's going to be in July next year?
Correct. They're moving it up a couple weeks. They've had a problem with the fact that having it where they do, which is the week after the Hall of Fame game, a lot of I've figured out and found out there's a lot of fantasy football analysts out there that are school teachers. Well, there's some that had to be back to work on Monday. So that was a little rough. So they decided to move it to July, which is better because it gives you a little longer run up to the season. August also happens to be, every August weekend tends to be a home draft weekend for a lot of people. So, by moving it back to July, the other side of the Hall of Fame game, I think it's going to be a better chance to have some better growth.
I agree.
Now, did you end up going? Did you go see the Busks in the Hall of Fame? Did you?
I did not go to the Hall of Fame this year, but I went last year. We did go to the gift shop and spend a little of my fantasy football winnings in the gift shop, but did not have time to do the whole Hall of Fame this year. Now the professor is a Saints fan. Of course, I'm a Chiefs fan. He was complaining with every step that we took last year that the Saints only had a little broom closet and that the Chiefs basically had an entire wing at the Hall of Fame now. I mean, they even had the face mask from the COVID season for Andy Reid there on display. I think they might have had a pair of Drew Brees's, I think
Let me tell you something about the Chiefs fans, Dennis. I went to the Super Bowl here in town when all you Chiefs fans were here. I shouldn't say here because I'm in Reno, but in Las Vegas. And I walked right by Andy Reid, and I was the first person out of the entire group of people to say, "Hey, that's Andy Reid." And then every Chiefs fan around me goes, "Oh, what? Who? There's my coach." Like that. So the fact that the Bills fan in the crowd at the Super Bowl is the first person to notice your head coach, that just tells me everything I need to know about y'all fan base.
I wasn't there. I would have spotted Andy Reid a long way ahead of time.
You'd have been walking next to him right with the security guard, dude. Come on now.
But I'd be the sober guy in the crowd too. So I think that has something to do with why the Chiefs fans didn't recognize anybody.
Yeah, no, it absolutely had something to do with it. I guarantee it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so that's tremendous. Tremendous insight from you, Dennis. We really appreciate it. And if you want to read more Dennis' work, you go to his website, the Science of Fantasy Football. Go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, if I can just throw out a couple of thank yous. So there's a Fantasy Sports Writing Association. You may have heard of that. That's a group that sort of gives awards for great articles and whatnot and great careers. So one of the Hall of Famers, in fact, the first year they did the Hall of Fame, he was nominated and was put into the Fantasy Football Writers Hall of Fame, a guy by the name of Greg Kellogg. I want to thank Greg for all his friendship. Within the last year here, we met him. Last year at the Expo, talked to him. He liked what John and I were doing, and he's been a big friend and ally for us. Helped kind of give Bob Long, the seal of approval, Greg's seal of approval. These guys weren't total nitwits, so we were able to do this poster session this year with Bob's support, and but that doesn't happen without the friendship and the help from Greg Kellogg. So I wanted to give him a shout out. And also, guys like Jim Coventry, Bob Harris, all these guys that have, they've forgotten more than I'll ever learn about fantasy football. And they treat us like equals when we're there. Just, tip of the hat. If I had a hat, let me find a hat. Tip of the hat to all of these great people, but especially Mr. Greg Kellogg. And I want to give another shout out to a couple of guys, JC and Iggy. Enjoyed hanging out with your group. They're doing something really special at the sports affiliation, and folks need to check that out. They're a pretty cool bunch, and JC and Iggy are probably two of the coolest dudes you're going to meet. So hung out with them Sunday night. I wanted to thank them for inviting the old guy out to the bar, and we had a good time.
That's awesome. And besides Dennis's website, you can also see him on D Mike Media over on X. He's very active on there, puts out some good content. So definitely check him out there. So that's tremendous. I can't wait till next year because I think next year our Ballsville meetup will be in Canton, Ohio. This year it's in Vegas, but next year it looks like we're all
Mid-July in Canton.
gather in Canton there for a Ballsville meetup. So awesome. It was great, experience in I'm glad you got to experience that again, and we can't wait till next year. So all right, well, let's get into our last segment of the show. Sean and I put this together. It's a little game that we call, what's this game called, Sean?
It's called the Ambiguously Split Duo.
All right.
So what we're doing here, guys, and I am a child of the 90s, so for me, this is one of my favorite skits growing up from Saturday Night Live, and we decided to put our fantasy spin on it. You guys know how we do. So we have a nice little segment here called the Ambiguously Split Duos that we are going to run through for you guys, and this is basically backfield oriented. So this is going to be the backfields that you are, just like us, the most concerned about. Let's roll, Scotty. What do you think?
Let's do it.
First up, out of our Ambiguously Split Duo, Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson. All right, guys. Scotty, let's start with you, buddy. Who out of these two becomes the man?
Okay, so everyone knows my Travion Henderson love, even though he's a Buckeye. I think in the long run, it's going to be Travion Henderson. So I think in the beginning, Mike Vrabel being like a veteran guy, he's going to run out creaky old Ramondre Stevenson. And I think what's going to end up happening is by week, I'd say 7 or 8, it will be more of like a 70-30 Henderson split. So I think off the bat, it'll be 50-50 and then more 70-30 by midway point through the year. So wheels up on Travion Henderson. We've seen in drafts, obviously Travion going before Ramondre. So I think that's pretty easy for me. What about you, Dennis?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. But one of the strategies that I love is to draft them both. And you can get Ramondre pretty doggone cheap. So why not grab them both? I asked a question at the expo, I like to handcuff my own guys, tell me why I'm right or wrong. And they said, well, it limits your upside. Okay, I don't care about limiting my upside. I want to have viable running backs for the fantasy football playoffs when I want to collect money.
It also raises your floor.
Yeah, it certainly does. I like, hey, I buy car insurance. That is an upside, but it protects me in case something really stupid happens. And that's what it looks like here. I do think it's going to start off as a 60-40 split. I wouldn't be surprised to see it stay a 60-40 split. Ramondre Stevenson, man, he's 27 years old. He ain't ancient, guys, and he's got some pop. But they brought Travion Henderson in to be the guy. And I think he has the possibility to be that guy. And I have a feeling he's going to be a very fantasy football viable guy, even with a 60-40 split with 60 in his favor.
What about you, Sean?
And So, in my opinion, guys, I think this is the one that, to me, leans way, way, way more towards the rookie than most of these scenarios. And the reason I say that is because Travion Henderson is the only one that out of this backfield that was drafted by this actual regime. Ramondre is a holdover, and they brought this kid in on purpose. Like, it wasn't an accident. I mean, they really made an effort to make sure they got a hold of this kid. And I think they really saw something between him and Drake May in their backfield, having that kind of almost that option game, kind of, early Lamar almost, right? Because Drake has that ability to scare you with his legs too. So all you need to do is just kind of, actually, I should just say early Josh, because that's pretty much what they did with Josh a lot when he first really became the Josh that we know, is a lot of that, like, play action, boom, and just nailing people. So, that's kind of what I could see with Travion and Drake. And I think that in the long run, I think Scott's right. I don't even think it starts out 50-50. I think it starts out Travion is already ahead of Ramondre. I just think that they brought him in for a reason. They're going to lean into it. They're going to see what they've got with him, and they want to move forward. Running back is not a position that you take your time. You find out as soon as you can on a rookie deal whether this is a guy worth paying for a second contract or not.
Cool. All right, who's next?
All right, next up in our ambiguously split duo, we have Caleb Johnson and Jalen Warren sticking it out in the Pittsburgh backfield. So what do you think, Scotty boy? Who is your man? This is one that actually could be considered a lot more 50-50 than the one we just went over.
Okay, I hate that offense, period.
But,
I
knew you were going to say that.
But like I said, having those two in there, I think Jalen Warren is just a little too light to be a full bell cow in that offense. I think he'll definitely be the passing down back, but I think they brought Caleb Johnson in to run between the tackles. He did it really good at Iowa. So like I said, I'm not crazy about the offense, but I could see him definitely getting about 250 carries for the year. Jalen Warren, like I said, will still win the passing game. Passing work, and Caleb Johnson can catch the ball. It's not like has hands of stone or anything like that. But to start off, I think Caleb's going to start off with most of the first and second down work, and Jalen will come in on third down and maybe hurry up. But they definitely brought him in to groom him as being a bell cow. So I think Caleb's the guy that you want.
Totally agree. Dennis, are you on the same boat?
Only to add that Arthur Smith hates us fantasy football players.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we hate him too.
He's going to split everything. Caleb Johnson could go, all the way down the field, be the more viable goal line back, and yet Jalen Warren will come in.
I think he's going to find a way to actually have him run all the way to the 2-yard line, stop, turn around, hand the ball to the other guy, and let him be the one to run it across the goal line on a regular basis just to mess with us.
Well, it's also possible. It's also possible that they'll get down to the end zone, and all of a sudden they'll line up with 4 tight ends in the backfield, and all of a sudden it'll all go. Now, all kidding aside, guys, I think this is if you look at the 2023 split between Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, that's what we're going to see this year.
I agree. That's what I was going to say too, and I'm glad that you finished on that note, because that's exactly where I was headed. Was the same exact thing you just said. Is, in my opinion, it's basically the same exact backfield. You just take out Najee, put in Caleb, and it's the same exact conversation. That's basically where we're at, in my opinion, which means that they're both going to be viable players as long as that offense can be productive.
And here's the added thing. Here's the one added thing. They picked up Gainwell to do something in the passing game as well. Again, Arthur Smith hates us, so he'll get down the field, and then Gainwell will come in and go 3 carries for -1 yard, and then they'll kick a field goal. Who knows? But no.
Didn't they have like an offensive formation back in the day that had 3 running backs, like a T-wing or something? Something crazy like that, right?
They'll line up the entire tight end group. They'll have 5 tight ends in the game, and Jonnu Smith will get the carry. Who knows? Yeah, they'll do something weird. That's the one thing.
Caleb Johnson will be under center and handing it off to the tight end.
Yeah, or to the left tackle. Who knows? I mean, it's Arthur Smith. He hates fantasy football players, so he will find a way to curse us.
That's why I love the nickname Arthur Sith. It's like so perfect for him. All right. So next up on our ambiguously split duos. I love it when you do that, Scott. It's the best. We have Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. Actually, I should say Tajah Spears. So, Scotty, where are you at on these two guys? I know exactly where I'm at, but I want to see what you think.
I'm going to throw this to Dennis. I want to hear what Dennis says first.
Last year, Pollard was hurt all season, played through injury all season. Tony Pollard's going to own this backfield. Now, the question is, how good is that offense? I actually think Cam Ward's going to be better than a lot of folks giving him credit. I think they're going to have a decent, notice I said decent, competent NFL offense, and that makes Tony Pollard an absolute steal in fantasy football this year.
Yeah, no, I'll piggyback off that. Spears is already hurt. And yeah, Pollard played pretty banged up last year. The offense was terrible last year. And yeah, that's why I wanted to let Dennis go first. I figured he would go in the Pollard direction. I think it's just going to be a better run offense. You got a somewhat deep, capable quarterback coming in. And I think Pollard's a pretty good steal. And I'm actually pissed because I didn't get any Pollard in any of my triathlon leagues because people were sniping me. So
I can tell you right now that Sarah has been on the Pollard train in the last few drafts, and for some dang reason, I've been stuck right next to her. And every single time, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll be able to get." Nope, never mind. There he goes, right ahead of me with Sarah's pick. So it's been happening consistently.
It was almost like you had to jump around early just to grab them. So,
and if you did it early on, you were getting them at a great deal. Because in the very beginning of the season, of the draft season, best ball time and, early dynasty times and startup stuff like that, you were getting a good deal on Pollard because people were still kind of like hating on him for exactly what Dennis just talked about, him being hurt last season, and people kind of just forgetting that he was hurt and playing through an injury most of the year and just kind of being like, oh, he's just not as good. This is why he was a problem in Dallas. Dallas was the same thing. The man's been fighting through injury for quite a while now, and he's still being extremely productive for an injury-plagued situation. So, I mean, if you give this man a healthy season, then like you just said, and Taj is already hurt. So if he comes into the season gimpy and Tony's healthy and Tony can do what Tony does, I think Tony will prove that he is the man that should be the 70-30 in this backfield.
Got you. All right.
Moving on to our ambiguously split duos. J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey, 2 initials. What do you guys think about this one? Dennis, give me some love.
Ooh, this is a tough backfield. And you add in the fact that, Jaleel McLaughlin isn't a stiff when it comes to the passing game because he's really good at pass pro. So they like him in that backfield. This could be a 3-way split of some of the stuff because I think Dobbins will get run out there quite a bit. They didn't draft Harvey to sit him on the bench. But boy, this is one that until Dobbins breaks down, I don't know if I have the guts to put RJ Harvey in a redraft lineup early. I have quite a bit of Harvey in Dynasty. From rookie drafts, he was going pretty cheap. And I really like the player. Don't like the ambiguously split duos situation that he's got to face right now because it could be more than a 2-way split as far as some of that goes. There's a lot of talent in that Denver running back room.
I agree. And if Arthur Sith is Darth Vader, then Sean Payton is Senator Palpatine. I'm telling you right now, because Sean Payton is 5 times worse than Arthur Smith is when it comes to screwing with fantasy players and his running back scenario. If he didn't have a guy like Alvin Kamara for so long to force his hand, he would have just been playing with us for decades. So we're basically sitting here just at the mercy of whatever Sean decides to do that day. And I think that the running backs kind of feel the same way. I think they don't wake up in the morning knowing exactly what they're going to be in as far as first, second, or third in the lineup. They're just basically waiting to see what Sean says in the morning. What do you think, Scotty?
I think this is so easy. It's so easy. It's right in front of our faces. I can't believe people aren't seeing this. So I took a lot of RJ Harvey, but the minute J.K. Dobbins was signed, any team I had Harvey on, I went and picked up Dobbins. And I look in the history and I say, okay, what is Sean Payton? What did he do in New Orleans? He had Alvin Kamara, a.k.a. RJ Harvey, and he had Mark Ingram, a.k.a. J.K. Dobbins. So I think it's going to be pretty much a 50-50 split. You're going to have J.K. Dobbins doing all the heavy lifting and pounding the goal line, and you're going to have R.J. Harvey on third down, on second and long, on hurry up. I think it's
smash and dash, right?
Little smash. He's going to do the little, like I said, when he was back in New Orleans doing the. I think they had a name back in New Orleans for those two.
They did. I can't remember what they called themselves.
I don't remember what it was.
Mark Ingram coined it because he was like one of the best guys ever on the mic, man. Like I loved hearing his press conferences. Every time he scored a touchdown, it'd be so exciting because I knew I'd get a Mark Ingram press conference.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be one of those backfields where both guys are going to have standalone value.
I agree. I think they're both going to be solid players, man. And I really do think that they brought in JK for a reason. So I don't think they want to run Harvey to that level. And that's why they did it. So, they'll start out the man. And like you said earlier, I think this is exactly what happens. JK starts out the man and then RJ ends up taking over, but it will still be like a 60-40 at worst. So next up on our ambiguously split duos. Ooh, this is one of my favorites. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet up there in the Pacific Northwest where they don't even know there is a thing called a sun. What do you guys think about this one?
Okay, I'll run at this one first. So I'm going to look at this. I got a Wolverine and I got a Buckeye. So
that's where he goes with it.
On one hand, you got a Buckeye that can't stay healthy. When he's on the field, he's tremendous. And you got a Wolverine that's pretty healthy for the most part, pretty much a grinder, but he can catch the ball out of the backfield. And when Walker's been out, Mr. Charbonnet has been an RB1 when he's been in the offense. So I think Walker is not going to be able to stay healthy throughout the year. So I think, and this is kind of a hot take, but I think Zach Charbonnet will outproduce Kenneth Walker by the end of the year.
Woo! I'll pub sub you on that one.
Jimmy, write this down in your hot takes. It's a hot take. It's not a bet. It's a hot take.
Oh, you won't bet it though? You'll say it, but you won't bet it.
It's a hot take.
Okay. I'll let it be a hot take this week, but I might push the issue as we get closer to the season.
Dennis, can you back me up at all?
Well, here's the thing. When you look at my MVP index, Charbonnet was only about a 10% drop off from Walker. And that's very small because usually there's more of a 30 to 40% drop off between the starter and the backup. So I think it's a combo that I'm betting on because you can get them like third round and ninth round. Why not protect yourself? Because Walker's lately has been missing like 3 games a year. So you got to plug and play with Charbonnet and you're guaranteed. Now, the only thing I will say is with all the changes with the Seattle offense, are they going to be as good as they were in the past? That's the only question mark of this duo. But Kenneth Walker's definitely going to be the man that's going to get the heavy load for as long as he can stay healthy. And Charbonnet will be that change of pace and maybe some third down work. So both have some use. And if Walker goes down, I'm playing the Charbonnet because it's nice and sweet.
Hey, you know what? I don't trust anybody whose name is Zach spelled with a CH. So I'm all about Kenneth Walker. I'm leaning in that direction all day of the week. No, I'm just kidding. I do like Kenneth Walker though. I do. I think he's the better back. I think he's the more talented back. I like Charbonnet, but I think Charbonnet's a little bit more of a plotter. So I think Walker's kind of got that explosiveness that Sharp's just missing. So I always lean Walker as long as he stays healthy. I think Walker becomes the bell cow in that offense, and if he stays healthy, Walker has potential for a top 5 season.
Now here's the factor that could cause some issues. If Walker goes down, does the rookie get a shot?
Exactly.
That's my big concern here going forward. That's the only, again, guys, this is how you play fantasy football from a scientific standpoint. You're always asking the what ifs, because you cannot just assume because last year Charbonnet was, only 10% less than Walker and he was the plug and play. You can't assume that stays the same each and every year. We know what it was in 24. In 25, it could be very different.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
All right. So I feel like we are at a certain point of our ambiguously split duos where we run into a new scenario. And we're going to find out here in just a second when I hit this button. So let's see who our next up is. Nope, it's one more group. We got Tyrone Tracy and Cam Scattaboo. All right, guys. So this is one that actually is really potentially, up in the air. I am going to lean towards the Rook, man. I think the Rook's just a better all-around talent. I like Tyrone, but I think Cam is just a better talent. And he's got that kind of grit and that kind of just ability and that style about him that I think kind of resonates well with teammates and stuff and makes them want to just fight that much harder. So, I think Scattaboo will eventually become the man, but I still think they're going to be so close to 50-50 throughout the year that it really won't make much of a difference as far as that. I think they're both going to be, mid-level RB3s. What do you think, Scotty?
I don't know. I hate this backfield. I mean, I hate this offense. I think Tracy's just because he's been there, he's going to get the look, but he can't hang on to the ball. Scattaboo is, what's going to end up happening? The first play that Scattaboo runs somebody over, the crowd's going to go ballistic. And then the New York papers it's all going to be, oh, Scattaboo needs to be the number one or Scattaboo needs to be this. So I just think it's going to be, first, it's like I said, it's going to be a terrible offense. So they're going to be behind in games. And, it might get Scattaboo on the field a little bit more because of his receiving chops. But I don't know. I just don't like this backfield at all. I think it'll be kind of like a 60-40, maybe Tracy, maybe 50-50 down the road. But like I said, I hate this backfield.
Dennis, you agree or disagree?
I love this opportunity. Because Scattaboo's cheap. Okay.
Exactly.
Here's the thing, guys. This offense is questionable at best. But last year they sucked. Okay. And Tyrone Tracy was actually useful as a flex starter. Tracy is a former wide receiver from Purdue. At least that's where he ended his career, thanks to a somewhat modest NIL money that brought him into town. Good ball player, but at this time last year, everybody was like, oh, this is Singletary's job. And Tracy took it away. Scattaboo's going to take this job away. I didn't really like this kid originally coming out of college. I was like, I don't see what the buzz is about him. The more I see this guy, he just falls forward for 2 or 3 yards. And, different body type, whole different runner. But the last guy that I saw in the NFL that had that tendency that every time he got tackled in college, Kyron Williams fell for another yard or two. Like he just did. And we're looking at a totally different body type on Scattaboo, but he does the same thing. Like he's so tough to tackle and he gets you that extra yard and a half, 2 yards. That's going to be resulting in more touchdowns. Tracy he was not very efficient inside the 5 last year. And I think that's going to change with Scatterbo. So this offense, it can't be worse than last year. The Giants sucked. Like the Giants sucked so bad, they had to come up with a new word because suck didn't get it all.
They did. It was called Giants.
That's Giants. Yeah. And I feel sorry for Giants fans. No, I don't. That's a lot. But no, Scatterbo is just, again, he was this guy that I didn't really like all that much. Then he fell to the second round in rookie drafts. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take this guy. And I same thing in drafts now, redraft. He's going like 9th round. 10th round. I got him in the 11th in one redraft. I'm like, you're going to keep letting him fall in one quarterback leagues. I'm going to take him because even on a bad team, if he gets 300 touches, even on a bad team, some of those touches are going to be out of the backfield. And I play a lot of PPR, so I kind of like his skill set in a bad offense because he doesn't need to do it between the tackles being handed the ball. He can get 3 to 5 catches a game and really give you a solid floor. No, I'm not looking at him as my RB2 starting every week, but I'm looking at him as a cheap depth play from 9th round on. And I've seen him drop into the double digits. So I like this backfield because it's opportunity. I don't love the Giants offense, but opportunity is opportunity.
I love it. All right. So our next group now, I know we're getting into our skewed duo. All right. So let's talk about that a little bit here. You guys are going to like this one, I think. So you guys know before I do this, Scott nor Dennis has absolutely no idea how I played this out in my little game that I built. So this is going to be fun for all of us. I'm excited. The next ambiguously split duo, I love it, is Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason, which does not have the actual split yet. So we'll wait till the next slide. But this one, it is these two only. It's Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. I forgot we have one more. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, jeez. Well, we'll run through these real quick. We'll run through these real quick then. So
we have 3 more after this, Scotty.
I think this is going to be pretty much just an even split going down the middle. I know with Minnesota getting not having I'm drawing a blank here, Addison for the suspension for the first 3 weeks. There's been talks they've been splitting Aaron Jones out wide, which he did do in Green Bay. So I think that Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones could be a true 50-50 split going down the middle. So I'll leave it at that. What about you, Dennis?
I think this is Aaron Jones's backfield. I think Jordan Mason will get used because they don't want to run the old guy into the ground. But Jones is so versatile. And Jordan Mason has been fighting injuries every year he's been in the league. So I'm not sure that I'd anoint him as automatically being a 50-50 split here. I could be definitely wrong. I admit that, but I like Aaron Jones. I think he's going to get the bulk of the carries when they matter. I think Mason will be sort of a change of pace back, but I'm looking at 2 series for Jones to 1 for Mason, and I'm looking for Jones down near the goal line. He'll be the primary guy if he's healthy. So I'm looking at Aaron Jones being, if I look at the points on a weekly basis, I think Jones gets the bulk of the split here. And I think he's a good play.
I agree.
Yeah, I think he'll get real quick before you jump in. I think those first 3 weeks, Aaron Jones is going to be targeted a lot with receiver being out. So if you're going to play Aaron Jones, get him in your lineup for the first 3 weeks. Go ahead.
I don't
Sean.
think it's only the first 3 weeks. I'm with Dennis on this 100%. I won't go too crazy because I already talked about this a lot earlier. But I think Aaron Jones is the man there, and I think Mason was just brought in as protection.
And everybody's talking so much about, well, with Addison out, it's going to be TJ Hawkinson. It's going to be more of the running game. It's going to be more passes to Aaron Jones. Naylor looked pretty damn good last year as a rookie, and they brought in Ty Felton. They're going to have they've got wide receivers that can play this game other than Jordan Addison and Justin.
And my space cousin coaching up their quarterback, so they'll be just fine.
They'll be fine. They'll be fine.
All right, and now I almost promise you, Scott, that this one is where we're going to start getting a little frisky. On our next ambiguously split duos,
Gotta be the Jets.
we have.
Gotta be the Jets. Oh, okay.
Ooh, now, before we go crazy on this one, guys, we have Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders in our ambiguously split duo. But we have a wild card on this one, ladies and gentlemen. Do we think that the Jack in the Box field might have a say in this? J-Don Blue could potentially become the man in this backfield. I know where I stand. Scotty, I want to hear your opinion, especially because your reaction to our Jack in the Box field is very epic, and I really want to hear how you feel.
I mean, I'm not going to give you what you want because I can't stand this backfield. I mean, it's just a disaster. I mean, Miles Sanders always hurt. He plays. I feel that he's always played like half-ass and not really like gave it 100% all the time. And he's been bounced around everywhere. Jaden Blue's had some mixed stuff in camp. You know, some people say he's lazy. Some people said he's had a great camp. Javonte, I think he's maybe never gotten a fair shake. He's kind of came off that devastating. I mean, you guys got to remember that knee injury he had. He tore like 3 ligaments. I mean, it was awful. So it might have taken him a couple years to get past it and get back to normal. So, I mean, I kind of give the edge to Javonte. I mean, he's got some passing chops. So I'd say it would be, I'm going to go Javonte, Jaden Blue, and Miles Sanders in that order.
Ooh. Dennis, do you agree? Disagree?
I have a twist on this one.
Even more of a twist than the Jack in the Box field?
More than it, yeah, because you're going to need another Jack in the Box. Because I don't think that the starting running back for the Cowboys, I think there's a decent chance, guys, that he ain't on the roster right now.
Ooh.
How about
whose roster is he on?
I think he could be I'm going to throw 2 names out at you. So I'm going to throw out Travis Etienne from Jacksonville. He's kind of a Cowboys kind of guy, you know, a guy who's got some back class that he did something once. Can he do it again? And with the signing of James Cook, why not Ray Davis?
Ooh, that's going to upset Sean.
Trade Ray
that
Davis.
That is actually going to upset me a lot because Ray Davis is rocking my boy Freddie Jackson's number like a champion, and I do not want him to leave.
I love Ray Davis, but
I do too.
I think there could be a trade in the works, and I don't know who, but I wouldn't be shocked to see a trade. As far as if this trio stays, I think that was broken down perfectly. Javonte Williams has been a broken down running back. If he's healthy, we don't know what he can do. He looked good briefly when he was healthy in the past. Miles Sanders has the back class, but he's never been able to hold a job. And J-Don Blue is J-Don Blue. Like, he's another one of these rookies that, you know, again, the Audric Estime looked great in preseason last year. What did he do for us? So I just look at this as a backfield that right now I have taken, because they are dirt cheap, I've taken combinations of 2 of the 3 on some teams, and on other teams I've totally left it alone.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I agree with you guys completely. I think Javonte is the man. I think if he can stay healthy, I think he really has a shot to show everybody that he can be a running back because he's very, very capable. He just needs to stay healthy. That's all. So I'm 100% with you guys on that. On our next ambiguously split duo,
Jets. Oh, there we go.
Travis Etienne Jr., surprise, surprise, and Tank Bigsby. But wait, there's more. We also have a Jack in this box field by the name of Bayshul Tutin. So,
I love it.
out of the three, who is the man with the plan to take the number one back role? Dennis, be the first man to roll out with this one because you brought up ETN already. So I want to see how you think. Obviously, does that mean that ETN is not the man here, or if he stays, is he still the man?
If he stays, he's the man. And here's the thing is, so I did a little study on ETN's numbers, and he had too many carries, too many touches last year. When he's had too many touches, his performance goes down. And if a fantasy football nerd can figure that out, a good coach in the NFL can figure that out. And I don't think they have a bad coach.
You think they finally got a good one?
I think they do. So I look at this and I say ETN's going to lead this backfield. Tutin is going to be the change of pace, and Bigsby is the kind of guy that if either one of those guys can't do it, Bigsby will come in and do it. So that's kind of how I look at it. And the way I've been drafting this backfield, I took a lot of Tutin as in the rookie drafts in Dynasty, and I'm taking ETN and Tutin combos in most of my drafts. I do have a few Bigsbys out there, but I've been concentrating on the other two.
I understand. I'm in the same boat as you. I think ETN is the guy, and I'm not a Bigsby guy, so I know I might be in the small pool there with that opinion, but I definitely think that between the three, I'm leaning towards ETN and Tutin, and at the price that I'm getting them, I almost never end up with Bigsby because I always end up getting one or two of the other guys. So I'm in the same boat as you. I think that it's going to lean that direction, and I think Bigsby's the odd man out, but I've been wrong before. Scotty, what do you think?
Early in the redraft season, Tutin was going a couple of picks ahead of ETN, and now ETN is going about 3 rounds ahead of Tutin. Yeah. So that's been what the people are saying.
Scotty, where do you fall?
This is the hardest backfield in the NFL to deal with right now. Yeah. So I'm trying to match the coach with what he did at his last job, and at Liam Combs' last job, he had Rashad White, he had Sean Tucker, and then he had drawing a blank, but what's his name?
Bucky Irving.
Bucky Irving. So he had those three to and I'm trying to put the piece together, like how would this rotation work if he mirrored it to what he did in Tampa. Now, where ETN's price was, like Dennis said a month ago, I was gobbling up all the ETN I could grab. Yeah. It's starting to come up a little bit more, and there's been reports Tutin's looked pretty good. He's been running with some of the ones. Tank Bigsby did have some good flashes last year. So, like I said, this is really, really hard for me. But I'm gonna go with ETN as the lead back. He's got the passing chops. And I agree with Dennis. I think Tutin will spell ETN, and Bigsby will be the goal line guy if they want the tough yards, or maybe a guy they might stick in there if they have the lead and they want to bleed the clock, possibly put Bigsby in. But I don't see ETN. I don't think they want to give him a ton of volume. I think that would be the split.
So real quick then, because I think you're on the same page as all of us, Scotty, so it sounds like we're all in the same boat. Yeah. But real quick, Dennis, if ETN does get moved, Bayshul Tutin or Tank Bigsby, which one's the one?
Tutin all the way, and that's why he's on my top 5 list. Let me explain to you what a top 5 list is. I look for 5 running backs that, if something wonderful happens, they could emerge on a team. And I look at, they have to be 11th round or later. Okay. And I usually like to get 2 or 3 of these on every team. And that big 5 is Tutin, Marks, Brashard Smith, Taj Brooks, and Ray Davis in no particular order. Those are my 5 guys that once they get to the 11th round, I say screw ADP. And if those guys are available, those are going to be probably my next 3 picks. And the reason I do that is I just go for all upside because rookie running backs late in the draft, somebody emerges and somebody can be gold in
Bucky Irvin. That's a prime example from last season. I mean, Bucky was almost forgotten running back out of the group that was coming out that year, and then now he's one of the top.
Yeah, Bucky was on almost every one of my teams last year. I was all over him in Dynasty. I was all over him in redraft. I got a ton of Bucky Irving because I did think that he was the man. But I also, like last year, I grabbed them both. And that's why this strategy that's built into my better than zero strategy works so well, is because I don't have to be right to succeed. And I love that because I'm not always right. And I'm easy enough to
last perfect person on this planet got crucified. I don't want to be in that boat.
No, but that's it, is you grab the guys that could have an impact if something magical happens. Ray Davis, if something were to happen or he were to get traded, but if something happened to James Cook, he's like a plug and play. He can do a lot of the same things. Tootin could just emerge as the best player on this group. Woody Marks is my guy because he could emerge, but that's how you play fantasy football. And here Tootin is the guy that is probably the best value on this board.
I agree. 100%.
Rootin' Tootin'.
So this is our last one coming up, guys. This was a little different. All right. And this one, we're looking at a backfield that's a little bit more, I would say, ambiguous than the previous backfields, which is shocking, right? So on this one, we decided to call this one a little bit of a different angle. We're going to give this one more of a bonus angle. All right. So on this one, guys, we're looking for the greatest leprechaun out of the 3. We've got Jerome Ford. We've got Dylan Sampson. We've got Quinshon Judkins. Which one of these 3 is going to be bringing gold back to the Cleveland Browns this year? Scotty, you bring it up.
Oh, my God. Okay, so Quinshon Judkins doesn't even have a contract yet. He's totally off my board. I am not drafting any Quinshon Judkins. So to me, it's down to Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson. And it could even be a mystery guy down the road. No, I'm sure that if they may even bring another back in. Who knows? But I think Ford has earned his chops. I think that the Browns should have gave him more carries last year, involved him more in the offense, because when he was in there, he was very productive. Dylan Sampson's still a rookie, but I liked him coming out of college. He did very well at Tennessee. So I think it's going to be the Jerome will start off as like the lead back. It'd be more of like a 60, I'd say 70-30 split, but don't be surprised if Sampson gets his legs under him, that it's closer to maybe like 60-40 or maybe a 50-50 split.
Dennis, do you have an opinion on between those 2 guys? I know that Judkins is still such an up in the air scenario, but does that like scare you away from him completely, like Scotty?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not taking Judkins because I'm not tying up a roster space right now. It would be a different story, folks, if this was Judkins on the Dallas Cowboys or Judkins on another team that had a really outstanding offense. Then I'll take the chance on somebody in this situation. This is, can I swear on this podcast?
You can now.
Say whatever you want.
This offense is horseshit. Okay. And that might be the biggest insult that I have ever given in my life to horseshit. So I just look at the Browns and I'm like, I want to stay away. Okay. I don't like anybody on the Browns at cost right now. I just don't like it.
I agree. I'm in the same boat. I'm avoiding the Browns like crazy right now. Like it's not because like I don't, I don't feel like there'll be production there. There's always production on every NFL team to an extent, but
Yeah.
I just don't see like enough production going in one specific direction to make it a fantasy viable scenario.
That's what I mean. I think they could go through 3 quarterbacks. I think they could go through 3 running backs, and I think 4 different wide receivers could lead them in targets on any given week. Njoku's the only guy with the chops that you say, oh, he should be, and then they got Fan in there, so God knows what they're going to do. If I have a situation where I look at an offense and I don't think they're dynamos, and then I don't think I can predict who's going to emerge, I just stay away. And sometimes, I just let them beat me. In a few leagues where I've gotten behind on running back because I've bulked up elsewhere, I've had to take Jerome Ford, and I've thrown up a little in my mouth when I've done it. But he is the guy that you'd want of this group. But even that, I mean, he's barely a viable flex starter on a bye week situation. So I want to stay away because I don't want ordinary players on my team. And I'm afraid that the Browns could be filled with ordinary players, except for Njoku. He's a special player on a really bad team. And again, I apologize for my language, and I apologize for insulting horseshit tonight.
Good.
Hey, what can you do? I mean, sometimes it deserves to be, talked down on.
Yeah. And I will say this though, the Cleveland Browns deserve every bit of what is happening to them.
Hey, they paid $250 million to a rapist. So hey,
they deserve anything that they get right now, and I'm enjoying it because what they've done is really what they did was stupid, and they are getting the penalty for being stupid.
I like how you waited until you left the Cleveland area to say all this, though.
Yeah, get the hell out of town before I say. I wouldn't do this if I was doing this remote from Canton. They play tough over there, baby. They don't take prisoners.
Hey, as bad as the team has been managed by the owner, the fan base themselves are on it, man. They will not take guff from nobody.
You got a point there, my man.
All right, before we get out of here, I want to do this for Sorry for Cussing. He did put one in the chat. Real quick, lightning round. Give me the split on Omarion Hampton or Pirates of the Caribbean Najee Harris. Go ahead, Dennis.
I think that's a split backfield. I don't think Harris is as hurt as they're saying, and I don't know how to read that backfield. I didn't read it well last year. I don't have a read on the coaching this year, so I have some Hampton from rookie drafts, but in redrafts so far, I've saw better options at the places that they're being drafted. So I don't have any of the Chargers backfield right now in redraft, and I've drafted quite a few redraft leagues already.
All right. Well, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to go 70-30 Hampton. Go ahead, Sean.
Hampton's a better player, so that makes sense.
I think we're looking at closer to a 60-40, and I'm taking Najee at his price all day long.
Whoa. All right.
I like Hampton, don't get me wrong, but I'm taking Najee at his price all day long.
That's not a bad strategy.
Yeah, not bad for sure. All right, that wraps it up for our first episode of Scott and Sean's Happy Hour. Please throw a like and subscribe up there. That really helps us out. And also, give love to our other podcasts. We are now the Ballsville Media Group going forward, and definitely give those guys a look. Give them some support. Some of them are new, so they're a little nervous. So give them some support and watch their pods.
And tomorrow we have Alex coming on board with the first ever Ballsville recap episode, right?
Well, not tomorrow. So Alex isn't going to start until week 1.
Oh,
so, yeah, he's not going to start until week 1.
Sorry, guys.
So, but touche.
Hey, I've been out of commission, out of town. I've been dealing with stuff, so I haven't been up to the speed. But Alex, week 1, that is going to be popping.
Right, exactly. And then, but I think what's releasing tomorrow, I think it'll be Connor and JoJo's next segment of the Dynasty.
Ooh, that's good too.
So that should be really good. Like I said, that's a really good really good podcast. Definitely check that out if you're into Dynasty. So I want to thank Dennis for coming on for the second time. We really appreciate it. Appreciate you giving us a shout out at the expo, pumping us up, and hopefully we'll be able to come there next year and have Ballsville there next year. So for my co-host Trader Clem, for our special guest Dennis from D Mike Media, I'm Run the Hurry Up on Sleeper. I'm Scott Fitzgerald. Until next week, folks, we are out.